What's going on, everybody? I'm coming at you with a different video, and today I am doing a review of Superman 2025. If you guys caught it, I did do an out of a theater reaction, so if you guys watched that, you pretty much know what my thoughts and what my feelings are. And because this is Superman, and I have very, very strong feelings about Superman, I just wanted to get out there a little more in depth of what my thoughts are on this movie, the current state of the DC universe, and the future. Um, what I would like to see, and so forth. And yeah, okay. So, anyways, I wrote down some things about what my thoughts are, and I want to start with the positives. Okay, here are my positives for Superman 2025. First things first is the cast. You got to give credit where it's due. The cast is pretty much pitch perfect. David Corn Sweat as Superman, he does an incredible job with the material that he has. Okay, he does a great job. Um, he's just plays the part well. He's empathetic. He's sensitive. He comes across as strong. He has a very good demeanor. And I'm going to say this. I'll take it as far as this. I think David Corn Sweat is the best cast Superman since Christopher Reeve. Okay. I liked Henry Cavill. Brandon Routh, I'm not a big Superman Returns fan, but I think he redeemed himself a little bit with Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW. Um, but yeah, I will take it as far as to say that he is the best cast Superman since Christopher Reeve, and I'd like to see more of him. Okay, Rachel Brosnahan, she's, I would say, yeah, she does a solid job as Lois Lane. Okay, she does a very solid job. She looks like Lois Lane. There's no question there. Nicholas Hoult, I had my reservations. I wasn't too sold on him as Lex Luthor, but seeing him in the role and his performance, I'm completely sold. Okay, I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought, let me see, Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, I thought he was cool. And I liked some of the different ideas that were implemented with Jimmy Olsen. I thought that was a cool, unique take on Jimmy Olsen, and even injecting some unique ideas of him being like a ladies' man and a womanizer. That's pretty cool because you would low-key not suspect that, but you can kind of see how that would be possible for that iteration of the character. Okay. So yeah, cast is great. The opening scene is pretty much like what you've seen from the trailer, where you see Superman get shot down and beat up, and you see him get rescued by Krypto. I think the Fortress of Solitude in this is pretty cool. I loved the idea. I love the idea of it being underground and it being away from the world. That's pretty cool. Okay, I thought the opening scene was pretty cool, and I wasn't really too fond or keen on the idea of Superman robots from seeing the trailers. Like, I understand that's a thing from the comics, but I think it works based on like how the Fortress of Solitude is built upon. I think that was pretty cool. So those are the positives. Um, I wrote down like the negatives, and I just it's a list. So here are the negatives. One is not enough Clark Kent. Um, there was not a whole lot of Clark Kent in this, and that was a complaint that I had from the Snyder movies. There wasn't a whole lot of Clark Kent, and for me, one of the reasons why I like Superman so much, especially when it's done right, is I like the contrast and polarity of the differences between Clark Kent and Superman. There's not a whole lot of that. And here's another thing too. I'm going to say too. I do like the idea. They touch upon it a little bit, but I do think the idea that Clark Kent has glasses that hypnotize people so that they don't suspect that he's Superman. That's cool. That makes sense to me. because it's like, what, how do you tell or convince modern audiences today that Clark Kent and Superman are two different things? And especially with social media and photo tagging and photobomb, how do you get away with that? That makes sense to me. I would have liked to have seen more Clark Kent. I think we were robbed of that. And yeah, there's that. Um, Now, as far as the Lois and Superman dynamic, I'm not completely sold. And here's something that the movie, I think, suffers from. Okay, and I wrote this down. It feels like a sequel to a first movie that you haven't seen. You watch this movie and it's like expected of you. It's like, oh yeah, you should know these characters. Like, well, no. It's like, here's the thing: characters are characters, but how they're portrayed and how they're implemented and introduced, that's another completely different thing. Now, I'll give an example. I've seen the first season of Superman and Lois on CW. Now, anybody that knows anything, you kind of get the sense that the CW isn't really doesn't have the best reputation for producing high quality shows. But I will say that first season of Superman and Lois is pretty solid. There's a bit where, here's another thing too, like Superman and Lois. Yes, it did come from the world of Arrowverse, I guess you could say that. And before Superman and Lois, people were introduced to that iteration of Tyler Hoechlin as Superman and Bitsy Tulloch as Lois Lane. I mean, I was a little familiar with it, but when they did the show of Superman and Lois, they kind of brought people up to speed so people can kind of get a sense of who these characters were prior to the current present day storytelling of what they're trying to tell you then and there. There's a bit where you see Lois and Clark and they meet at the Daily Planet, and you see that they're smitten over each other, and that's where their love story began, and that's where it continues on to where they're trying to do it. There isn't any of that here. Like, you just see Clark coming home. You see Lois coming home to Clark making dinner, and it's just kind of like it imposes this. Oh well, the audience is gonna get this, and they're gonna assume that they get together and they have this relationship. But no, like, we need to see things, begin. Obviously, we don't need a full fleshed out story, but we need, as an audience, kind of need to get a sense of where this relationship began, what holds it together, why they like each other. And there wasn't any of that, and so that's why, like, there's no emotional investment in that dynamic, at least for me. Okay. Another thing too is the score. I didn't feel like the music was all that great. Okay. Now here's another thing too. Like, you when you're coming off of you're pretty much following the lead of Man of Steel. Now, Man of Steel, the Hans Zimmer score, it's a pretty good score. It's not as epic as John Williams, but it's a pretty good score. This movie does not have anything remotely relative to the Hans Zimmer score. And yes, even though it uses the John Williams score, it's not. I feel like it leans a little heavy into that. It's like, no, dude. Like, here's another thing. Like, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a fan of the John Williams Superman theme being used for anybody outside of Christopher Reeve. I feel like it belongs to Christopher Reeve, and I feel like anybody that tries to use the John Williams theme, whether it was Superman Returns or Black Adam when Henry Cavill showed up and they, played the melody of that, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. I feel like there's it's like, okay, stay away from it. Let go of Donner. Let it go. Okay. Now, here's another thing I'm going to say too. I'm going to drive this thing a little bit home. Okay. Say what you will about the Snyderverse. Okay. Say what you will about Zack Snyder's Superman. Okay. If anything, this movie, Superman 2025, it pretty much makes me appreciate the fact that Zack Snyder's Superman is authentic. It's original. it may not be the best take that I like, but you know what? At least you can say Zack Snyder had a very singular take on Superman. It's original, and it is what it is. Now, what this movie tries to do, this is my biggest beef with the movie, okay, is it tries to pull so many ideas from so many different iterations of Superman from the past and try to blend it into one movie. And it makes sense why initially James Gunn was going to call this movie Superman Legacy. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Like, this movie uses ideas that we've seen before. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is a WB thing or if this is a creative thing or a creative block, okay? But I'll give an example. It's like this movie recycles ideas that we've seen before, okay? For example, Lex Luthor infiltrating the Fortress of Solitude, okay? It's been done in Superman 2, okay? It's been done in Batman v Superman, okay? And now again with Superman 2025, okay? Like, I get it. If you want to have Lex Luthor be a villain, great. But let's come up with something a little bit different here. Show me something I haven't seen before, okay? Here's another thing. Superman stopping a war, okay? Now, I do think here's the thing. I gotta say, I do think that was a cool idea. I think that was a cool idea and take about, okay, well, if Superman was here, would he try to stop a war? And if millions of lives were saved, okay, that's cool. But for it to go as far as it did and trying to, put Superman under fire, I think that could have been fleshed out and executed a little bit better with that. I think that's a good idea. There just wasn't any payoff. I kind of feel like that correlates a little bit with Superman 4. Okay, now here again, going back to recycled ideas, and I feel like, I don't know if this was like James Gunn's motives, but I feel like he was like, oh, let me just take these ideas and blend it into one. Okay, Lex Luthor infiltrating Fortress of Solitude. Okay, been done before. Oh yeah, okay, okay, another thing. Superman infiltrating, Lex Luthor infiltrating the Fortress of Solitude. That was done again in Superman Returns. So it's like, why are we doing that, dude? Why are we doing that? Superman 2, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Superman 2025. It's been done 4 times on film. Let it go. Okay? Superman stopping a war. That kind of resonates a little bit with Superman trying to stop the nuclear war and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. So it's a little bit in sync with that. Now, here's a spoiler alert. Okay? Another recycled idea that we've seen before that was done again. Superman versus Superman. Superman versus Ultraman. Spoiler alert. Ultraman is a clone of Superman. Okay, where have we seen this before? Superman 3. Okay, where Superman fights himself. I feel like he was trying to pay homage to that. Like, let me just pull from that. Let's take from Superman's legacy and try to modernize it and combine it into that. Okay, so that was more or less the connection. So, I mean, here's the thing. It's like, listen, man, it's like, you're making a new Superman movie. You're trying to start a new DCU. Why can't you use another villain like Brainiac? Show us something. Why couldn't you get your Superman to face off against Brainiac or Metallo or Parasite or any other the big rogues galaxy? I don't know if that's a Warner Brothers thing or a DC thing or a creative thing, but it's like, okay, dude, like, if you had the choice, okay, I mean, like, I just didn't get into this story. Like, Lex Luthor having like a dimension of like prisoners or something like that, like mutant monkeys posting online, whatever, yeah, I mean, like, let me just look up this other, like, I don't even remember the characters' names. I mean, this is bad. I think it was like Metamorpho. What was that character? Like, what was the whole point of that? Okay, now that's one aspect. Okay, like, let me make sure I get this guy's name right. Yeah, Metamorpho. I did not. I mean, it was a cool character idea. I think it's cool that he can like morph himself into like different elements, like kryptonite. That was pretty cool. Um, yeah, yeah. So, I just, I don't know, guys. Okay, okay. Here's my other beef with the movie as well too. So the movie's called Superman, and yet you have Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner. I get it. You're trying to start a new DC universe, but here's the thing, man. Like, listen, like, if there's anything the MCU did, it was showing the formula. Okay, this movie. Okay, I'll even take it further. Okay, when James Gunn was announced that he was going to do the new DCU, what I was praying and hoping to God that he would just wipe the slate clean and start from scratch and begin with a new Superman movie, have it be Superman focused, do what Marvel did. When the first Iron Man movie came out, they had no plans of the MCU. They just made an Iron Man movie that was focused on Iron Man. Okay? Now, as the result, they made a sequel, and they made Thor, and they made Captain America, and then they did the Avengers. All you had to do was that. Do Superman, you could reboot Wonder Woman, you do Batman, you do Green Lantern, you do all these other characters, and then you do a Justice League movie. It's that simple. So Superman. Here's the thing. Like, it's funny because I had a friend of mine. I'm not going to disclose his name, but he is one of the biggest Superman fans in the world. And something that he shared with me today, which I thought was very interesting, were no one seems to be amazed of Superman. When you witness Superman, you want to feel like it's the greatest thing in the world that's happening in the moment. So when you have other heroes in the mix, it kind of takes away from the shine. It kind of um, outshines Superman a little bit, or not even outshine, but it just kind of takes away from the shine. You want Superman to be the focus of a Superman movie, okay? And then you have the team up movies. I'm not saying you can't have a team up movie, but there's a sequence of order, I feel, to get up there. So there's too many, again, those other characters they kind of take away. And for what? For what? That's where my beef comes with all of that. So with that said, those are pretty much my thoughts of the movie. Um, do I think this movie, or do I think the DC universe, can it be salvaged from this? Yeah, I do. I think it can. I think you should make a Superman sequel. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, based on how the world is set up and everything, I don't know if you can do a Superman focused character, based on how the world's set up. I mean, if you did, you could do that. Um, but I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as like, just going back to like the villains, like, okay, there's Lex Luthor, there's Ultraman, and the Hammer of Baravia. Those are like, there wasn't really a clear idea of who the villain was and what the oppositional force was going to be with Superman. Um, Again, if I were to approach this thing with DC and Superman, wipe the slate clean, do a Superman focused movie, and then start out with the big baddie Brainiac. Start out with Brainiac. Um, and then if you want to do the other unknown characters, that's fine. But it's like you got to tap into like what's familiar with what people know. Like, I mean, starting off the DC universe with Creature Commandos and Peacemaker and all that type of stuff. And here's the thing, man. I mean, who knows what the limitations are behind there? I would imagine that the stress is probably like through the roof. Um, but as far as like my optimism for the DC universe goes, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I hope for the best, but um, Am I excited to see more David Cornsweet as Superman? Well, if it's under these circumstances, no. But here are the positives of the DC universe, and I'll give credit to where it's due. James Gunn, he rebooted the DC universe. That was something that I felt like needed to be done. Snyderverse just wasn't working. Okay, check. Second thing, James Gunn brought the old school DC logo, DC Comics logo. Freaking love that, man. That's awesome. Um, and he cast David Cornsweet as Superman, who was my first choice. Um, so, I mean, if you were to do a sequel to Superman, I'd like to see some, you know, he needs a new suit, needs a new costume. Hopefully, make it Superman focus, and then do it from there. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm just kind of like whatever. And I hope for the best, man. But that's pretty much it. I think I pretty much hit all the notes of what my thoughts are with Superman, the movie, the current state of the DC universe, and the last thing I'll say about the DC universe. I mean, it's very hard for me to get excited for the DC universe because I wasn't too crazy about this Superman movie, and on top of that too, like with Hal Jordan being my number two favorite DC Comics character, it's kind of hard to get excited for Lanterns and Green Lantern when you're just looking like you're gonna recycle Hal Jordan. And I mean, it's like, dude, you got a guy that's like almost 6 years old. No offense to Kyle Chandler. I'm sure he's a great actor. But the writing's on the wall with the direction that they're trying to go in with that character. And Hal Jordan is, come on, man. I mean, like, he's Hal Jordan, okay? Like, it's like, okay. So, it's just kind of two strikes for me with the DCU. I'm kind of like apathetic at this point, and it's just already the first movie. Like, that sucks, man. Excuse my language, that fucking sucks. Okay, so those are my thoughts. Superman 2025, current state of the DCU, and the future. We'll see what happens. Right now it looks like Superman's opening up strong in the domestic box office. It doesn't look like it's doing pretty good overseas. So based on what the final totals are worldwide, and given the financial status of where Warner Brothers is, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the future of the DCU. I'm going to tell you this. I'll be straight up. I think WB, Warner Brothers, I can see Zaslav tapping out and getting the fuck out of here, man. Like, it just hasn't been promoting movies since The Flash bombed. Okay? And here's the thing. If Zaslav sold it to Universal, that would be a pretty good thing. It would be good for movies, it would be good for Warner Brothers, and it'd be good for Zaslav, because then he can put this thing behind him. Because I think when he got into this, making movies is a different beast of animal. Okay? It's different than reality television. It's a very different beast. So, with that said, I hope the best, but for right now, I'm just not with it. Okay? And I hope it gets right, and it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. So, we'll see what happens, and things change. With that said, if you guys like this video, be sure to like this video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Feel free to share, and as always, I will see you on the next one.